Before we begin, can you hear me okay? If you can hear me, will you please type okay or yes or something in the text box to let us know that you can hear us? All right, excellent. Kim, we've got Kim. Good. How about you, Ryan? Can you hear us? All right, perfect. Okay. I also want to introduce my colleague, Evan Favreau, who's here with me tonight. He's from our Office of Admissions, and he may not do a whole lot of talking tonight, but he's going to be working behind the scenes to organize your questions, answer some things in the chat box. If you have questions throughout the evening at any point during the presentation, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and Evan will do his best to answer. And if there's something that we can work together on to answer for you, we'll be more than happy to do that. I am going to save a few minutes towards the end of the presentation for questions. If there are questions that keep coming up and maybe all three of you have questions together that are the same, we'll try and answer those a little bit at the end as well. But I want to thank you for being here with us this evening. And as we go, we might have more join us as well, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm very happy to have you all with us to talk about the pre-pharmacy program at Drake. We are extremely excited about this program. This is a program that we've had for quite a while at Drake, and our students tend to be very, very successful as they progress through the pre-pharmacy program and then applying and being accepted into the PharmD program. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we talk about the actual program, I want to start by playing a video that you can actually see on our website. Those of you who have been on our website before may have had a chance to view this. But since we're also recording for anyone who wants to watch this in the future, I'd like to kind of show this video for a couple of minutes. So if you want to make sure that your sound is turned up a little bit, that way you can hear us, and we will get started.
At Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, you'll find expertise and a passion for improving lives through the practice of pharmacy. Drake's PharmD program offers a tight-knit community where you can pursue your individual career goals.
That means that our students can look at paths that are interesting to them, explore them, and then gain enough expertise in those areas that they can actually be desirable when they graduate. That is something that you don't see in a lot of pharmacy programs. I think the hardest thing for our students is choosing from all the various paths that are available to them, because there are so many that they can follow.
Drake left an indelible mark in my life that I didn't realize necessarily until after I graduated. And I'm very grateful for that. The fact that the professors took an interest in you academically, but also personally. The fact that they celebrated with you and actually meant it is something that means a lot.
Pharmacy students aren't just gaining the skills they need today, they're learning how to affect the future of pharmacy. In state-of-the-art facilities, in academic competitions, in the community, Drake PharmD students are reimagining the industry.
Especially healthcare is going through huge changes. Hospitals, pharmacies, everywhere you look at healthcare, there are changes in the way things are being funded and the way practice is being done. And as a result, you need to have people who are really very nimble and able to look at the current situation, figure out what opportunities there are, what problems there are, and adapt to those situations. And that's what entrepreneurial leadership is all about.
So the lab that we're in right now is called the Davidson Lab, and it's an actual pharmacy, so it's licensed as a pharmacy. What this allows students to be able to do is mimic what a real pharmacy would be like. They're able to process prescriptions, check those prescriptions, counsel patients, and really allows them to practice as much like a real-world situation would be as possible.
Drake student pharmacists tend to always have a great understanding of the healthcare system. I think they really are understanding where the healthcare system's going, where the profession of pharmacy can fit in, and being able to communicate that. I really feel like the communication skills that Drake students have really are top-notch.
Located in the state capital, Drake students have ample opportunities for gaining hands-on experiences. Those opportunities extend beyond Iowa, across the nation, and around the world.
I really love the hands-on patient contact that we get to have. We have experiential hours that we have to perform, so many per year, and we get to travel to various locations. So I've been able to go to hospitals, I've been able to go and give health screenings, bone density, blood glucose, things like that. And it's been really fun to sit down and talk to patients and hear their side of what they think pharmacy is all about, and really get to know them on an individual level.
Drake will challenge you beyond anything you ever imagined you would be challenged by. But at the end of the day, you will grow more than you ever expected.
Pursue your dream of making a difference and leading innovation by exploring the Doctor of Pharmacy program at Drake University. Go to our website or schedule a campus visit.
All right. So that just gives you a little bit of a taste of what the pharmacy program has to offer here at Drake University. We're going to talk a little bit about the details of that. Now, one of the things that I like to start with when I talk to students about the pre-pharmacy program is, why should you choose a career in pharmacy? A lot of times when I talk with students about their interests in the different healthcare fields, students tend to gravitate towards pharmacy because they have a love of science. And I think that that's one aspect that's extremely important. But even more important than that, I think as a future pharmacist, you really need to have a desire to be in a position that's going to help people. And I think that's true with a lot of healthcare professions, that being involved in the science aspect is extremely valuable and very, very helpful, but also having that love of wanting to make a difference in people's lives is very important as a healthcare professional, and especially in the profession of pharmacy. Pharmacy is a profession that actually has a lot of public respect. I know when we think of healthcare professions, a lot of times people think of the doctors they work with, or nurses, or pediatricians, physical therapists. Those are some of the primary career options that a lot of students think about in healthcare, but being a pharmacist is actually very, very rewarding. Typically when we look at results of different national polls being taken, or just different satisfactory surveys from just healthcare in general, we see that a lot of the general public actually really respects pharmacy as one of the top respected careers in the nation. They put it right up there with their nurses. People tend to respect nurses because of the care they get in hospital and clinical settings, and pharmacists because as a pharmacist, you're the expert in the medications that your patients are taking. Our students that have a very high accomplishment rate, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we talk about the different pathways that you can take in pharmacy and where our students go. But for the past, I would say 30 or so years, since the year 1984, so 31 years now, our students have had a very, very high placement rate in the career of pharmacy. Some years it's at 100%, and some years it's near 100%, in the high 90s. And so that means our students are getting jobs after graduation. They're getting placed into residency programs, and not just any residency program, but their top choice residency program. So I think that speaks very highly of not just the preparation that our students are getting here, but also of our students in general, that we attract the type of student that is very motivated and really has that desire to go out and make a difference in the world, not just in the local community, but across the state and across the nation and even around the world. So very, very high accomplishment rate for our students. And there are a lot of career options within pharmacy. I know if you talk to people just in general, a lot of people think that all you do as a pharmacist is sit behind a counter and count pills all day. And that's actually something that the profession has been moving away from for a number of years now. A lot of that dispensing activity, which is what people see as the pill counting, is actually being automated or done by technicians, which is great because it frees the pharmacist up to do a lot more counseling with their patients, a lot more consulting with different healthcare professionals, Pharmacists are now in the hospitals on the floors doing rounds with physicians. They're part of the care team, and they're a very active and important part of the care team. They are working with the patient's family on the different treatments that the patient might be in or taking. They work in some non-traditional settings. I mentioned the hospital setting. They also work in that community pharmacy or retail pharmacy that we typically think of as where a pharmacist works. But pharmacists can also work in the business side of pharmacy. If you have an interest in maybe research and development, lots of pharmaceutical companies right now are hiring pharmacists to be on their research team, because you have kind of the best of both worlds. You have that very deep understanding of the science behind what the drugs do and how they interact with each other, but you also have that humanistic aspect point of view to bring to the table as well. You can think of things that sometimes the biochemists or the biomedical engineers or the chemical engineers don't always think of. Why might a patient take this medication, or what might prevent this patient from taking a medication? Some of the sociological aspects of it, the economic aspects of it. Is this medication too expensive for patients? Do they have access to the medication at their local pharmacy? Things like that. So very interesting career pathways if you're involved in research and development. If you're interested in, maybe you have more of the sales or the marketing bone in your body. Pharmaceutical companies are also hiring pharmacists for their sales teams, their customer service, marketing, and other aspects of the business as well, because who better to talk to your customers either via email or in person or on the phone than someone who's an expert in medications that they are producing. So there's a great opportunity there for students who want maybe a little bit more of the business side of pharmacy. There's also opportunities within government in pharmacy too. Those of you who may have an interest in the law aspect, we're going to talk a little bit about the opportunities that you have to pair a pharmacy degree with a law degree here at Drake, which is very exciting. But even if you have a love of political science or lawmaking, anything that has to do with the legislative branch of our government, pharmacists become very active in that. And especially here in the state of Iowa, Drake pharmacists become very active. We have a very active Iowa Pharmacy Association, and lots of Drake graduates are affiliated with that and directly helping with making sure that policies are not only enforced in the state of Iowa, but that they are really acting on the best, in the best interest of the patient and in the pharmacy community too. So there are some great opportunities there. So you have a lot of options with the career choices that you can make as far as your career in pharmacy is concerned. And you will be prepared to do any of these options with an education from the Drake Pharmacy program. We prepare our students very, very well for careers in any of these areas. So whether you're interested in the clinical side or direct patient care, or maybe more of the business or government side, there are a great variety for you to choose from in the different career pathways that you can take. One of the things that makes our program special, and you may have heard of this if you have been poking around on the website a little bit, or perhaps talking with maybe students in the program already, or have talked to friends that have visited Drake before, that we offer something called the Drake PharmD Difference. This is a program that is specifically for students coming to Drake directly from high school. It's a little bit of an accelerated route, I guess you could call it, to finishing your Doctor of Pharmacy degree. A lot of times when students are applying to a professional pharmacy program, they are spending 4 years doing a bachelor's degree at an institution of their choice, and then they apply to the doctorate program for pharmacy, and they're spending 4 years completing a pharmacy degree as well. So that's a total of 8 years. Here at Drake, you have the option to do that in a total of 6 years if you are doing the pre-pharmacy program. The formal name for that is the Drake PharmD Difference. And along with that accelerated process, we also have some great benefits for our pre-pharmacy students in the admission process. Some things that make it a little bit more advantageous for you to do pre-pharmacy at Drake than starting a bachelor's degree somewhere else or completing a bachelor's degree somewhere else and then going to pharmacy school later on. One of the things that you can expect as a pre-pharmacy student is to have what we call full consideration for admission into the doctorate program. This means two things. A little bit lower on the list, you can see that you are waived of taking the PCAT. The PCAT is the entrance exam for pharmacy programs at the doctoral level. Pretty much every college of pharmacy requires that students take the PCAT in order to be admitted into their program. We do have students every year that apply to our program from outside of Drake, and we do require those students to take the PCAT. So not having to take the PCAT as a pre-pharmacy student is a huge advantage for you, and that's part of your full consideration for admission. The other piece to that is that you are guaranteed to have an interview during your sophomore year here at Drake to be considered for a spot in the P1 class the next year. Again, that's not something that every student that applies to our program has access to. If a student applied to our doctoral program from a different major at Drake or even from a different university, they would not be guaranteed to get an interview even if they meet the minimum qualifications. We will have students every year that apply from different schools that meet the minimum GPA and their minimum PCAT requirement, and they're still not strong enough candidates to be granted that interview or be invited to have that interview. All of our pre-pharmacy students are invited to interview. The sheer fact that you've been admitted to Drake as a pre-pharmacy student after your senior year in high school means that we have a lot of confidence in the work that you've been doing and your potential for success in our program. One of the reasons we have all that confidence in you is because we do a very rigorous admission process during your senior year of high school to make sure that we are admitting students that really do have the potential to be successful. We don't admit just anyone into the pre-pharmacy program. We are going to talk a little bit more about the admission process for pre-pharmacy at, I think it's one of the later slides in the presentation. So I'm going to save a little bit more of that conversation for the end of the presentation because I know you may have questions about the admission process coming from your senior year into the pre-pharmacy program. But just know that you do have that guaranteed interview and you do not have to take the PCAT during your sophomore year if you're a pre-pharmacy student at Drake and you wish to be admitted into the PharmD program. Another huge advantage to our pre-pharmacy students is within your curriculum. You actually take a course during your first 2 years at Drake. It's a series of 4 courses actually, and it's called CAPS. CAPS stands for Career, Academic, and Professional Success. And during the CAPS courses, you will have the opportunity to learn about the different pathways in pharmacy and get a little bit more individual preparation for the admission process for your first 2 years going into the professional program. We start you very, very early in your education at Drake with shadowing in different pharmacy sites, or getting you involved in some of the opportunities that are out there for pharmacists so you can see firsthand what students have available to them and what you might be able to do as a pharmacist after you graduate. We actually start that shadowing right away in your first semester at Drake, which is extremely beneficial for you. Many times if a student is starting at another university and they may be in a biology major or a chemistry major and not in an official pre-pharmacy program like ours, they may have to work a lot harder in order to get some shadowing experience under their belt. It's something that they probably have to find on their own with little, almost no support from faculty or their college. Here at Drake, we build it into your curriculum. It's part of your CAPS course. You actually have a requirement that you have to do shadowing each semester that you're in CAPS in order to pass the CAPS course. So it's something that we have not only developed, but we also help you achieve. We have an entire office at our university, within our college actually, developed and devoted to experiential learning. And so they will help you find those shadowing experiences during your first year and your sophomore year so that you don't have to go out and find them on your own. You don't have to make all of those phone calls and be told no a bunch of times. Our Office of Experiential Learning has already done that. They've already made the list of places here in Des Moines that are happy to take our pharmacy students. And the list is long. We have hundreds of sites here in the Des Moines area that want our students to shadow with them. So it's very beneficial, again, for you to be in those CAPS courses and doing pre-pharmacy here at Drake, because it exposes you to a lot of career options that a lot of students around the country are not getting exposed to until they actually start their doctorate program. So you're actually getting a 2-year lead on what a lot of students around the country are not experiencing until later in their education. So that's a great benefit for you. Our faculty are also a huge benefit for you as well. And I think our faculty here at Drake are one of our greatest assets. As you are looking at Drake and as you are comparing us to other schools, I would encourage you to ask other schools how their faculty are involved with students in every aspect of the education process. With our pre-pharmacy students, you will actually have a faculty academic advisor who teaches in the professional program. This is not someone that you'll be taking classes with during your first 2 years. They're a person that you'll be taking classes with once you become a student in the doctoral program. So you actually have the opportunity to start building a mentoring relationship with one of our faculty members before you even take their class, which is very, very exciting, because that's the person that's going to help you figure out what your pathway is going to look like. We have great faculty in our college. Advising and mentoring is something that they're very passionate about. Our faculty here at Drake, and you'll find this across the board, it's not just something that's true for pharmacy or pre-pharmacy, but in every discipline here at Drake University, you are advised by faculty whose first priority is teaching and learning, and they use advising and mentoring as a teaching tool. They use it as another opportunity to help you learn about the different options that are available to you. So our faculty are very good about sharing their own story and their own pathway with you and helping you connect with some different entities, not just here in the Des Moines community, but across the state of Iowa and even nationwide and globally, to get you involved in some different aspects of the profession so that you can make some informed choices about what you plan to do, not just with your 6 years of education at Drake, but beyond that as well. So your faculty advisor is going to be a very valuable person in your life while you're here at Drake. We always tell our students, you should have a board of directors. Your faculty advisor should be the head of that board of directors here at Drake. And our faculty are always a great resource for our students. You'll have a lot of great leadership opportunities here at Drake as well. We actually have 13 organizations right now that are completely dedicated to pharmacy. We really encourage our students to be involved in at least one of them. The majority of our students are involved in multiple organizations related to pharmacy. And I would even say beyond the pharmacy aspect, you should get involved in organizations that you're passionate about here at Drake. Evan might be able to give me a better number than this, but the last I knew, we had anywhere between 150 and 160 student organizations here on campus. And that's a lot. That's huge, because that's not something that you'll get at every small private university. Those are like large public university numbers for the number of organizations that you have available to you. And it's everything from the professional academic organizations that we have here in our college to the social fraternities and sororities. We have service organizations. We have organizations that are dedicated to fun activities as well. If you like Ultimate Frisbee, you can play Ultimate Frisbee at Drake. We have club sports, we have intramural sports, we have NCAA Division I sports if you're a student athlete. I really encourage you to get involved in something that you're passionate about here at Drake. And if you really want to get involved more in the professional realm of pharmacy, joining one of our pharmacy organizations as a first-year student or a sophomore can be a huge benefit to you. And you get that opportunity. A lot of times at other universities, if you're starting in a different degree program, you don't really have access to pharmacy-specific organizations until you become a student in a doctoral program. Here at Drake, you can join those organizations before you're actually admitted into the doctoral program, so you can start to make some of those connections, some of those professional relationships, and get to know older students, get to know more faculty in our program, and even have some opportunities to visit with professionals from around the community, across the state, and nationwide. So it's extremely exciting to have some of those leadership and involvement opportunities as well. And then the last thing on the list that you can see is our Office of Academic and Student Affairs. This is the office that I work through. We actually are a division that works with students not just on the admission process, getting from the pre-pharmacy program into the PharmD program, but we also work with our faculty on making them the best advisors that they can be. We provide development for them as well. We do a little bit of student advising on our side, but we try to let the faculty take the lead on student advising. We're the office that can help you with the day-to-day things. You know, if you want to change the time of your lab, or if you want to add a minor or a concentration to your degree, we are the office that could help you with that. We also have the office of, I mentioned the Office of Experiential Learning is there for you. They are a resource that will help you get involved in your shadowing, your observation. So it's a very good resource for you to take advantage of. And we are available year-round for our students. So we are here even on breaks. When you have a question while you're at home for winter break, you can ask us that as well. So lots of great resources for you to take advantage of as a student here in the program. Now, some of you may have questions about the statistics that are related to our pharmacy program. And so I want to share a few of these statistics with you from the last few years of students who started the pre-pharmacy program at Drake and were able to gain admission into the pre-pharmacy program. I'm going to do a little bit of an explanation here because the numbers that you see in front of you are the number of students that began their first year of pre-pharmacy at Drake, and then the number of students that year that completed the admission process, which means they formally told us that they wanted to be considered for admission by filling out an application. They completed their interview and a writing assessment through our college. And then we have the number of students that were admitted into the PharmD program. Now you can see that for the past few years, that admission rate has centered in the 70 and 80% range. Now I do want to mention that there is a GPA requirement for our sophomores to meet in order to be admitted into the program. That GPA requirement is a 3.0 overall GPA in all of your courses here at Drake, and also a 3.0 in your math and science courses that you're taking within your first 2 years at Drake. Something that I want to mention about the P1 class of 2015, so the current P1s, the students that went through the admission process for the doctorate program last year, actually the 90 students that were admitted to the PharmD program were the students that reached the GPA requirement and were admitted to the program because they were highly qualified students. So every student that met the requirement for their GPA last year were considered highly qualified in their interview, in their writing assessment, in their academic performance. And so they were admitted to the program, which is great because I like to kind of put it this way. We don't have what people would call a quota for our program. We don't have a certain number of spots that we hold for pre-pharmacy students, but we also don't have a certain number of spots that we're only allowed to give to pre-pharmacy students. If you are a highly qualified student, you will be seriously considered for admission. We admit students into the program that are highly qualified. So, you know, if the number each year is 90, then we'll have 90 students admitted. If the number of highly qualified students is more than that, you know, we've had years in the past, you know, in the past 5 to 10 years where we've had out of our 110 students that we admit to the P1 class every year, we've had over 100 of those spots filled by pre-pharmacy students because that's the number of students that were highly qualified for the program. So we don't have a cap on the number of pre-pharmacy students that we admit to our PharmD program. If you are a highly qualified student, you'll be admitted to the program. And again, we'll talk about what makes a highly qualified student and how we kind of determine that with our pre-pharmacy students a little bit later when we talk about the admission process going from your senior year to your pre-pharmacy year. But I just wanted to put that out there and let you know that our students are extremely successful in the admission process. Nationwide right now, students applying to doctoral programs in pharmacy tends to be lower than 70%. I think last year it was in the mid-60s. So it's definitely, our admission rate for our pre-pharmacy students into the doctoral program is definitely higher than the national average, which is something that I think it speaks to the type of student that we admit into pre-pharmacy, but it also speaks to the preparation that you get within those first 2 years, the courses that you're taking, the shadowing that you get, and the preparation that you can take advantage of. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the curriculum that you can expect to have in the pharmacy program. I'm going to talk about it in 2 parts. I'm going to talk about your pre-pharmacy curriculum, which we've kind of already touched on. We talked a little bit about the CAPS courses, but we'll talk a little bit about the science behind that as well. And then I want to talk about the PharmD program, what you can expect once you're admitted into the doctoral program. As a pre-pharmacy student, your primary focus is going to be on the foundational sciences and preparing for that admission process. You'll be taking courses like general biology, general chemistry, organic chemistry. Students can expect to take calculus, statistics. Now, some of those courses you'll be able to bring in with you from high school. If you're taking AP credits, or you might be taking dual credit with a local college, there are opportunities for you to transfer some of those courses into Drake and not have to take them here. So if you're, for example, if you are taking AP Calculus right now and you score at least a 4 on your AP Calculus exam, you can actually use that towards your calculus requirement for the pre-pharmacy program and not have to take calculus here at Drake. You'll work with your admission counselor on which specific courses can transfer into the program and how the courses that you're actually taking would look as far as what Drake credit you'll be able to use it as. You'll also be working with our college office as well to kind of decide which pre-pharmacy prerequisites those courses would take the place of. But we actually see that quite often from students who are taking some of their pre-pharmacy prerequisites or even some of their general elective requirements through AP or dual credit options. And so that's a great opportunity for you to free up some space so that by the time you become a PharmD student, a student in our professional program, you can add things like a minor or a concentration or do one of our dual degrees that we're going to talk about in just a minute, and add some more value to the already very valuable pharmacy degree that you're getting. So those are some great options for you if you have those available to you. Now, if you don't have those options available to you as a high school student, that's not a cause for concern. We do have students every year that come in and they don't bring credits in with them, and they're still very, very successful in the admission process into the doctoral program and as a student in that program as well. So I want to assure you that whether you have the opportunity to take those courses or not, you do have the potential as a pre-pharmacy student to be very, very successful once you get into that doctoral program. Now, once you're in the PharmD program, the curriculum focuses less on the foundational science that you've been taking for the 2 years as a pre-pharmacy student and more on the knowledge and skills that you'll need to be a successful pharmacist. We pair your education in the classroom with experiential education outside of the classroom. And that's something else that we'll talk about in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. But you'll actually have the opportunity to be more involved in your pharmacy practice experience as a student in the professional program that goes beyond just the shadowing and observation that you'll have as a pre-pharmacy student. You will be able to visit practice sites and no longer be just an observer, but you'll actually be involved. You'll be responsible for things at that pharmacy site. And the goals of those practical experiences are directly related to the goals of the courses that you're taking in the PharmD program. So you can see the correlation there very easily. And it's great for you as a student because you have that direct connection between what you're learning in the classroom and what you're learning outside the classroom and how those relate to each other and how those are going to inform your practice as a pharmacist later on. Speaking of practical experiences, let's take a look at what that looks like throughout the time that you're here in the program. We talked about the shadowing and observation that you'll be doing in the CAPS courses. Once you become a student in the professional program, I mentioned you'll start getting more involved. You'll actually do over 300 hours in your first 3 years of a professional program, which, if you're keeping track, that would be your 3rd year at Drake through your 5th year at Drake. But you're actually involved in those sites, and you'll be doing different observations at a hospital setting. You'll be doing observations in a community pharmacy, which would be a retail pharmacy. You'll be doing observations and introductory pharmacy practice experience is what we call it. You'll be doing that experiential learning with different populations, pediatrics. You'll be working in geriatrics with an older population. You'll be working with populations that don't have as access to pharmacy services as readily available to them as in other parts of the community. So you'll be working with more of a disadvantaged population. You'll be working with different types of patients that have maybe diabetes, or they might be working working to manage other types of disease states that they might have. So you'll get a good variety of opportunities within your introductory pharmacy practice experiences that will actually have you working hands-on at these sites. You'll be involved. You'll be responsible for things at the site. So you will no longer be just observing once you start that PharmD year. It all leads up to your last year in the program, which we call it your P4 year, which would be your 6th year here at Drake. Once you reach that P4 year, you're no longer taking classes. You are actually full-time an experiential student. You are out there in the practice sites working as a student pharmacist. You're getting academic credit. It's kind of like doing an internship, actually. I tend not to call it an internship because when I think of an internship, I think of what we see in the movies, you know, students getting coffee and doing filing and running errands. Our students are not doing that in their rotations. We call it the advanced pharmacy practical experience, but rotations are the shortened version of that. When you're on rotation, you are doing things that the pharmacists are doing. If you're in a community pharmacy, you're counseling patients. You are doing things like giving immunizations. When you're in the hospital, you're going on rounds with the physician. You are talking to the patient's family about the treatments that they're on. You know, you might be doing a drug information rotation with one of our faculty members. You might be doing a rotation at the Iowa Pharmacy Association and learning about some of the more legislative opportunities that are out there. You have a lot of variety in the opportunities you can take advantage of for rotations. We have between 600 and 700 sites each year nationwide. Actually, I want to say across the globe, because we do have international rotations that are available to you as well. So you have a lot of variety to choose from. You don't have to stick around the Des Moines area for all of your rotations if you don't want to, which I think is something very unique about our program. Many times you'll find that you'll have a very limited option for what you can do on rotations at other pharmacy schools. You know, if they have a hospital that they're directly connected with, you may have to do all of your rotations at that site. And that's limiting in what you get to see in the profession. The nice thing about Drake is we have relationships with every healthcare entity you can think of here in the Des Moines community, and we have great relationships with healthcare organizations across the state of Iowa, across the Midwest, nationwide, and across the globe. So you're not just getting to see one individual healthcare organization for your rotations. You have the opportunity to see anything you want to see and work on anything you want to work on in those pharmacy rotations. So it's a very valuable experience for you to branch out and see what you can do in pharmacy and what pharmacy is like. By the time our students graduate from their program and finish their rotations, they are extremely prepared for any opportunity within the career of pharmacy that they would want to take advantage of. So your rotations are really where a lot of your hands-on learning kind of come together, and it all synthesizes, and you can see how it all fits together in the big picture. I mentioned that we talk a little bit about ways to add things to your degree. Your pharmacy degree that you're getting here at Drake is extremely valuable in itself, with all of the opportunities you have for experiential learning, for shadowing, for internships, for learning about the different career pathways. And that's not even talking about the science that you'll be learning behind the actual medications and how they work together. you actually have opportunities to add even more value to what you're doing here at Drake. One of the things that we're known for is our joint degree programs. We have partnerships with our College of Business and Public Administration. We have a partnership with our law school. You can add a master's in business administration, an MBA, or a master's in public administration, an MPA with that. You can add a law degree to your pharmacy degree. And then actually within the last couple of years, we've also added a brand new partnership with a university here in town called Des Moines University, which is one of the premier medical colleges in the nation, actually. They have a very good reputation for having rigorous doctorate and master's level programs in healthcare. They have an excellent master's in public health program, and we partner with them to allow our students to do a dual degree with pharmacy and their MPH program. If you're doing a master's program as a dual degree with our pharmacy program, you can actually finish both the pharmacy degree and the master's degree in the 6 years that you were already going to spend here at Drake, which is unheard of. There are schools that offer master's options for their students, but most of those schools require students to spend an additional semester or even an additional year in the program in order to complete both degrees. So you could be spending, instead of 6 years, you might be spending 6.5 or even 7 years in a program to complete a pharmacy degree and a master's degree. Here at Drake, you can do it all in 6, and it's not difficult to do. We double count a lot of things here in our college because we want you to have the opportunity to do these dual degree programs and still graduate on time. We have a very high on-time graduation rate, especially among our students that are doing dual degrees. So it's definitely something that you should consider taking advantage of. We have great minors and concentrations. You can actually pair pretty much any minor with a pharmacy degree. I know that sounds kind of odd because most of the time when you're thinking pharmacy, you're probably thinking, well, there's so much to do. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do everything I want to do, so I'm going to have to pick and choose. You can add pretty much any minor. We have students adding business minors, entrepreneurship minors, psychology minors. They're adding music minors. Some of our students who are the most successful students in the program are part of the fine arts. So if you have a love of the fine arts and you would like to pick up a music minor or a theater minor with your pharmacy degree, it can actually be very advantageous. It can help to inform your practice later on as a pharmacist. So it's definitely something you can consider. We have concentrations in many different areas. We have a leadership concentration that's available to every student here at Drake University. One of the concentrations that's actually up and coming in becoming more popular with our students is the global and comparative public health concentration. And then we also have a concentration that is only for pharmacy students. Once you start your Doctor of Pharmacy degree, you can actually earn what we call a diabetes care concentration, which means if you have an interest in learning more about diabetes and becoming more of an expert in helping patients manage their diabetes, we have the opportunity for you to do that here at Drake. That's not something you'll find at every pharmacy school. We talked a little bit about the leadership and the opportunity to join pharmacy organizations. You also have the opportunity to do research with our faculty here at Drake University. We have some fantastic research going on in the area of pharmacogenomics, which is the study of individualized medicine, helping a patient by prescribing a medication to a patient based on their genetic makeup and what we know will work for them, what their DNA tells us will work for them, rather than the way we do it now, which is kind of trial and error. You get prescribed a dose of a particular medication, and if it doesn't work, they go back to the drawing board and they prescribe something else, or they change the dose. So the pharmacogenomics research that we're doing here at Drake is really going to change the face of how treatments are prescribed and managed in pharmacy and in healthcare. We also have great research going on right now in our pharmacy administration department. I talked a little bit earlier about how you have the opportunity to do some shadowing, observation, and experiential learning in more of the social aspect, of the government aspect of pharmacy. One of our faculty right now is doing a project with students on researching the different reasons why patients don't take medication that they're prescribed to take. They're looking at the socioeconomic aspects of taking a medication, or the access that they have to the medication. So they're looking at some different non-sciencey related aspects of medication. And that's the cool thing about being a pharmacist, is that you get exposure to the sciences behind how the drugs work, but also the different aspects of why a patient takes medication, why they don't take their medication on time or at all, and just what are some of the non-science factors that affect a patient's treatment. And then we also have opportunities for international study as well. Again, this is one of the things that I think sometimes pre-pharmacy students get a little bit caught up in that they don't think about international experiences because of the nature of, the program that they're in. That pharmacy is, there's too much to do in pharmacy that I can't fit it all in and do an international experience as well. So I'm going to forego not doing the international experience. Here at Drake, if you would like to do an international experience, we can help you make that happen. If you would like to do a full semester abroad during your sophomore year, we can help you make that happen. Even though you have required courses that you're supposed to be taking, we can help you schedule those courses either during your study abroad, if you decide to take those courses and do a study abroad at an institution that we partner with for our core courses that our students are required to take. Or we can help you schedule them, during the summer if you want to go to a school that we have available to our students, but we may not be able to take the required coursework there. So you have a lot of opportunities to study abroad in that way. Maybe you're interested in doing something more healthcare focused or more focused on one aspect of your education. We also have what's called a J term, which is a 3-week term in January, where students can spend some time taking one course, and that's the only course they take for that entire term. And a lot of our J-term courses are study abroad courses where you go abroad for 3 weeks and you're just doing that one course. So it's pretty exciting, an exciting opportunity for you there as well. You can also do an international rotation if you would like to go abroad on one of your rotations during your P4 year and actually do experience what pharmacy is like in that country. That's something that's an option for you as well. So there are lots of options to add some value to the degree that you're getting here at Drake. Des Moines is an excellent place to study pharmacy. I like to call it having the Des Moines Advantage. We are the capital city of Iowa, which means we have all of the perks of a large city with a small community feel. Our healthcare systems here in the Des Moines area are very, very happy to take our students. Since we are the only pharmacy school in the city, we have access to everything healthcare related. Our students are going everywhere. We have 6 or 7 hospitals in the area where our students go. We have hundreds of clinics, pharmacies where our students go. So you have that opportunity with our practice sites here in Des Moines. You also have an opportunity to work with rural populations. If you're interested in working in more of a rural community where access to pharmacy may not be as readily available as it is in the urban area or the suburban areas, you have access to that as well here in the Des Moines area. So you can have the best of all worlds in Des Moines. It's really a great place to work, to live, to study, and to be a healthcare professional. So it's a great opportunity for you as a Drake student. The last thing I want to talk about before we kind of open it up for your questions is talking about the pre-pharmacy admission process, the process that you'll be going through right now as a senior in high school. And some of you may have already started your application for pre-pharmacy. Some of you may have finished it already, which is fantastic. We love to see those students that are on the ball and get their stuff in early. But if you haven't started your pre-pharmacy application yet, you still have time to do so. The application deadline for pre-pharmacy is December 1st. This is a little bit different than the rest of the university. Drake in general operates on a rolling admission basis for most of the majors here on campus. Pre-pharmacy is the exception to that. We actually work on a deadline. So if you apply by December 1st and you indicate on your application that you want pre-pharmacy as your primary major, as your major of choice, then you will be reviewed from a pool of applicants for our pre-pharmacy program, which means we do all of our reviewing of applications after that December 1st deadline. It's actually kind of nice for you though, because all of our pre-pharmacy students find out about their admission decision at the same time. Usually those letters come out in mid-January, so it's important to keep an eye on the deadline. So if you have completed your application already, good for you. We are excited to start reviewing that application. If you have not completed it, or if you haven't started it yet, it's important to start that pretty soon because the deadline is very quickly approaching. Another thing I want to mention about the application process, you may have heard about something that Drake recently started doing called a test flexible path on the admission process. Test flexible means that you do not have to take the ACT or the SAT, and instead of submitting those scores for admission, you actually go through an interview process during your senior year in high school. It's really important that we talk about this because pre-pharmacy is a major here at Drake that is not eligible for the test flexible path. If you are applying to the pre-pharmacy program, you must take either the ACT or the SAT and submit those scores to us. You don't have to take both. You just pick one or the other. We do take both tests, so it doesn't matter which one you take, but you do have to take one of them and you have to submit your scores to us. All test scores, all essays that are required, we do require an essay for the admission process. So your essay, we do require one letter of recommendation for from either a counselor or a teacher at your school, someone who knows you well at your school. The letter of recommendation, the essay, and the ACT or SAT scores are due by December 10th. So the application deadline is December 1st. We give you a few extra days after that to make sure that everything is into us. You know, maybe it's still in process in the mail stream, or you know, your counselor might still be working on that recommendation last minute. So we'll give you a few additional days to get those materials into us. But if it's not in by December 10th, it's not going to meet our deadline for being reviewed within that application pool. We do have the opportunity to review students who get their application in late, although it's on a space available basis. So if you submit your application after December 1st or your documents don't come in until after December 10th, you'll be put into a separate pool to be considered if there's space still available in the class. So we can't guarantee that you'll be considered for admission unless your documentation and your application are in on time. So that's really important that you kind of pay attention to those application deadlines. The last thing I want to talk about is what we look for in the application. I get this question a lot when I talk to students on, you know, how important are my GPA and my test scores in the admission process? And I will be honest with you, they do hold some weight in the admission process, but they're not the only thing that we're looking for to admit students into pre-pharmacy. We are also looking at your curriculum. What have you chosen to take over your 4 years in high school that is going to prepare you for the rigorous study of this program? Since we're doing the academic review on your application prior to getting your fall grades from your senior year, we are only looking at 3 years worth of grades. So we really take into consideration your senior year curriculum especially. It's important to us that you show us what you've been taking over the past 4 years and that you've been taking academic courses all 4 years to really prepare yourself for admission into this program. We are looking at the leadership roles that you've been taking on over your 4 years in high school. You know, are you a member of clubs and organizations? Do you hold leadership roles in those clubs and organizations? Are you a member of, do you participate in after-school activities at your school? Do you participate in the community? Are you an active member of your religious organization? Do you do volunteer work? Are you working a part-time job while you're in school? Those are all very, very valuable experiences that we want to take into consideration. Our admission counselors actually put it very well. I've heard them tell students that when you come up with your list of activities that you're involved with, or work experience or volunteer experience or whatever it may be, hand it to your parents, your mom or your dad, or someone who knows you and your family very well, because they probably will remember things that you can put on that list that you've forgotten. So before you submit that application, make sure somebody else looks over your resume to make sure that you have included everything that you should be including on that. Nothing is too small to include on that resume. We want to see everything that you've been doing for the past 4 years in high school. We want to see it. So please make sure that you are giving us a full picture of who you are. And then we do look at your essay and your letters of recommendation. One of the things that, you know, it always surprises me each year, but we do get students every year who don't proofread their essay. And I know that sounds so simple. And, you know, you're probably thinking right now, why is she telling me this? This is something I was going to do. You know, who wouldn't proofread their essay? It's really important that you do. We are looking for students that can show us that they have the motivation to do well and that they have the good habits, that they're going to use those good habits that they've developed in high school to be successful in the pharmacy program here at Drake. And one of those good habits is proofreading your work, making sure that you are paying attention to those details. As a pharmacist, you're going to be really responsible for a lot of details in the work that you do. And I'll tell you what, I do not want my pharmacist to be the one that makes a silly mistake on the details of my prescription. And, you know, that's the thing that makes me more sick, or it could be the thing that kills me. So, you know, it's really important that you pay attention to those details, and it starts with proofreading your essay. As I mentioned before, we require 1 letter of recommendation. You may submit more than that if you choose. You don't have to. I think sometimes we'll have students that like to submit 2 or 3 letters of recommendation, and that's okay. You don't have to, but you can. Please do not be the student that submits the record. Right now, the record for submission is 9 letters of recommendation for a single applicant. That's too many. Please don't submit that many. But if you submit your 1 letter of recommendation, that is plenty. So it needs to be from either a school counselor or a teacher, someone at your school who can speak to your academic performance and who knows you well. We want to make sure that that we're reading a recommendation from someone who can really speak to who you are as a student. All right, so that's really all I have for you. I know we're getting close to the hour mark, but I do hope that you'll stick around and ask a few questions. I know that Evan's been reminding you of some things in the chat box. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them. I'd be happy to answer them, and we can get some of your questions answered. And if you don't have any questions right now, that's okay. The last slide that I'm going to put up is my contact information. You're more than, oh, we do have a question. Fantastic. The question is, do you allow super scoring the ACT, or do you only want 1 score? You know, I'm actually, if it's okay with you, Evan, I'm going to let Evan take the lead on this one and answer, because he actually sits on the admission committee for this process for pre-pharmacy. So he is very well versed in how we review applications. And I can see him typing now, so I think he's going to answer for us. All right, and as Evan's typing, I am going to put my contact information up here. All right, so fantastic. So we do not super score the ACT, but we do consider your highest composite score. So if you take the ACT more than once, send us both scores, because we will consider the highest one. It's not a case where you know, at some schools you may find that they take your most recent one, even if it's lower. You know, or they only take 1 score, so you have to pick which one you submit. You can take the ACT more than once, and we will consider the highest one. There is one thing I do want to mention with that, though. You must have your scores submitted by the December 10th deadline. If you decide to retake the ACT during the spring of your senior year, we will not be able to use those scores in the admission process when we review your application. So that's something to consider, is if you're still thinking about retaking the ACT, or if you haven't taken it yet and you're taking it for the first time, you want to make sure that you're taking it so that the scores can be sent to us prior to the December 10th deadline. Do we have any other questions? Saw a little bit of typing going on. As we're getting the last couple of questions coming through, I want to point out that I do have my contact information up on the screen. So if you have a question that you think of later, or maybe you think of something, you know, as you're talking to your family about this process, maybe you're talking to friends at school. Oh, we have another question. Does Drake accept CIS courses in addition to AP courses? CIS, I'm thinking, I'm not necessarily sure what CIS means. Ryan, can you elaborate on that a little bit, on what you mean by CIS? Here we go. So as Ryan is typing, just to get back to kind of the contact information, if you think of more questions later on, please let me know. My email is up there, my phone number, and that's a great way to get a hold of us. CIS, oh, college in school. So for example, if you're taking a course at your high school, that's also helping you earn college credit through a local college or university. Ryan's example was the University of Minnesota. We do actually take those courses. We use them as transfer courses for the program. So if you're taking a general elective course, or you're taking, one of your courses that are required for pre-pharmacy, like calculus or statistics or something like that, yes, those are things that we would be able to consider in place of the courses that you would normally be taking here at Bake. With the college and high school courses, you do need to earn at least a C in the course in order to bring the credit into Drake. So I want to make sure that students are aware of that as well, that we do have a minimum grade that you have to earn in the course in order to transfer that course back. All right, well, we're past 8 o'clock, which means we've been talking for a little bit over an hour. If you do have other questions, please feel free to contact us. We really do enjoy talking with students and answering questions and getting to know you a little bit. If you're interested in having a campus visit, we love having students here on campus. We host group admission days during the fall semester, and we also host individuals. If you are interested in having an individual visit to campus, that's one of the best ways to see us, because then we can tailor your visit to fit what you want to see. So it's a great opportunity, and you can contact us to find out more information, or you can visit www.drake.edu to schedule that campus visit. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this. If you are watching this later on at home, thank you so much for downloading this presentation, and keep in touch. We would love to hear from you, and we can't wait to review your applications.